Welcome back to What Makes You Tick Best Bits. Why is it so hard to hire great salespeople? Is it because the systems that we've built to identify them are too indexed on their resume, the logos that they've worked for, and their attainment versus quota, which, by the way, might be totally fabricated? And are we not indexing enough and building systems to identify the attitudes and behaviors that drive the performance that we need and multiply the impact in our organization? Are we spending too long looking for culture fit and culture add without realizing what a collaborative culture means and why a compliant or conflicted culture could be incredibly damaging to our business? What if we're ending up hiring dividers who are highly capable but rip our culture apart? What if we're just hiring adders who are good but don't really move the needle? And how do we identify multipliers? I was on the Do Hard Things podcast with Gabe Lillo and Lexi Graham a little while ago, and we got into detail around practical examples around how you can go and identify and hire multipliers for your business. Enjoy.
You've been doing this, scaling teams for 16 years. So you've likely seen, every type of hire. I know that, from multipliers to subtractors. But what's, one or two painful hiring mistakes that really has taught you the most out of that process?
Yeah. So many myself. How long have you got? Many, right?
Right.
And then lots and lots with clients. Lots with clients. Like often I get bought into a business after they've really messed up a few times, and it's a founder at their wits' end. They can't take another loss.
Right.
They can't get this hire wrong. They can't blow this investment. They can't not get to their next round. It's like everything's on the line if they don't get this stuff right. And I think it always comes back to, are you hiring for someone's capability, or are you hiring for their alignment? And are you hiring for their experience, or are you hiring for the impact? So I think a lot of people just look back, like if you're looking at resumes and doing a traditional recruitment process, the typical questions people ask are, tell me about that. Talk me through your biggest deal. Tell me about this. It's always like past, stats, numbers, facts, figures, put all the data on your CV. But all you're doing is saying, well, what someone achieved historically. And very few people score how people do during the process, so the present. And very, very few look at the future. And I think that if you're just looking at a historical lens with someone, how likely that lens of previous experience and impact is going to be translated into your context. There's a load of variables that will affect that. And one of the massive mistakes that I see people make consistently is they go, well, this person achieved, 1.5 million of quota, and they did that for 3 years in a row. So surely if we've only got a 750 quota in our business, then they'll be able to do it. But that person was in a 50 million pound business and you're a 2 million business. So the amount of resources and structure and support that person had, the market fit, the go-to-market fit, where the product was, everything is completely different than in your context where you're a scrappy startup and you've not got a playbook and you need someone to go and create something from nothing. So I think that only measuring historical, not factoring in the context and the stage of growth that you're in and the environment and the resources that they'll have, and then really not spending any time saying, how are they actually doing in this process? What characteristics are they displaying? How are they making people feel? What feedback are they getting? Are they surprising us? And then not really creating any kind of scenarios other than a skills test. So there's nothing about, here's the impact we're trying to make as a business. Talk me through how you will do that in our context. It's, let's just go and see how good you are in a role play. Go and produce me a 180-day plan. All this sort of like bland stuff that people have done 100 times and can just really quickly research and blag.
Yeah. You can interview well, but you can't do the job well, right? That's the process, right?
Yeah, and many people can interview very well. Many, and that's a bit of a red flag, right? Like, good people probably haven't done that many interviews.
Exactly.
Really, haven't they? They might have done like 5 in 10 years. They might not have needed to interview in the last few roles that they got into because it was an old manager taking them with them. But if
Right.
someone's like done 100 interviews, maybe that says a lot.
There you go.
Maybe. What about you? So if you're thinking about in Alley
Mhm.
or in your previous, guises, what are some of the biggest gaps that you've consistently felt pain around when you've actually brought the person into your team?
Well, we look for grit more than anything else. Like, I want grit, resiliency, work ethic, and desire more than skill set and their ability to interview or their ability to, handle every single objection correctly. Like, we can teach
Yeah,
that. But if you're extraordinarily talented with zero drive, that doesn't give us anything, right? So in sales, it's about pushing through those walls, doing those hard things, and having that grit. So that's what we look for, and it's very hard to find in a resume, if at all. There's
yeah,
hints of it, but you need to unpack all of that in the interview process to really see what that drive is, because we can put someone super talented, amazing CV on the sales floor, and they could be detrimental to not only their goals of hitting quota, but also the culture around them.
yeah,
I remember hiring a phenomenal, talented rep, and he was a top producer, but he was a jerk. He was hard to work with, and he showed up
yeah,
late. He thought he owned the place practically, and
yeah,
everyone saw that, especially when you're in office back in the day. And
sure.
that was just like a cancer really that spreads throughout the culture of the company. So
Yeah.
those are some tragic ones that I've made for sure.
Was the gap on that person that they just weren't aligned culturally, or was it a capability thing?
Yeah, I think it was just an ability to align culturally, and
Mm.
his unwillingness to do so because of a straight up ego slash arrogance about it.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
hey, I'm the top guy on the leaderboards. I'm untouchable.
yeah,
I walked him out in front of everyone on the sales floor, and it really helps everyone understand. Okay, now I have opportunity to grow. And that's just not what we look for. We want someone to, we always say it takes a village to build a salesperson, right?
yeah.
And if you're not a part of that village and helping people become successful, then it's not a good fit.
I bet people thanked you for it
Yeah, yeah.
when you removed them, you know,
Very,
because people don't talk about this stuff. Often it's people who are highly capable.
yeah.
So this is why skill will doesn't work. You know, it was like skill will matrix. I'm like, well, that was built in 1969. So like, what is that measuring? That's like, are you a worker bee? Are you someone who can like, you can do bookkeeping and you'll work hard? It's not measuring like someone that would be an impact multiplier who's actually going to go and like scale a bunch of momentum and go and get a load of people bought into a mission and drive a load of results. It's just not. It's like, are you good? Do you work hard? And it's like skill. Like, how many skills does someone need? It's not just one skill, right? So often people go highly like motivated, like the energy, and they've got this skill. Let's bring them in, but they're not aligned. So you create a culture of what I call dividers. So this person was interested in themselves and interested in building power, and they'll often do that looking down. So they'll go, who's at my level or below me that I can get to agree with me? So I collect power. They'll never do it up because they'll know they get in trouble. They know what they're doing is wrong. Or maybe they're not just not even thinking about it. It's just like autonomous behavior that I want to collect power and feel like I'm doing a good job here. But they'll
Right.
create these islands and politics and factions which slows everyone down. And people hate working with these people, but they won't tell you often because that person might be top of the leaderboard, and they think that that's the behavior that you're rewarding. And they're like, well, maybe I need to be a bit more like that. So if you don't remove these dividers or fix them, actually you probably create a bunch more because people just think that's what you value as the business. Look at what the top performers get away with.
Yeah. And I think company culture is so important and it really sets the tone when someone new is brought onto the team. And you've built hiring frameworks, prioritizing clarity, culture fit. What's one thing that you think companies often miss when they over index on big name experience?
Yeah. So I think a huge part is about, so we talk about culture, right?
Yeah.
So you want people to positively impact the culture. And people go, oh, it's not culture fit, like it's culture add. And I'm like, well, what does that mean? And people go, well, they add to the culture. I'm like, cool, what's your culture? And then they'll throw some buzzwords at me. So I think that there's just like a lack of understanding around what culture truly is.
Right.
And I think that there's probably four levels of culture, which is you have the worst cases, you have a conflicted culture. So people are actually like fighting against each other, full of dividers, not managed, terrible place to be, toxic workplace. But then you have like a sort of compliant culture where people will do what they're told just to avoid being in trouble. They will do it, but it's really just to protect themselves. Then you have a cooperative culture, which is we will work together when told. And if it serves us, we'll do it. But it's never like, it's never autonomous. It's not just like happening naturally. The leaders get frustrated when teams aren't working together and thinking about the big picture. And then you have collaborative culture. This is where people together work as a team to achieve a big outcome. And they see like, we are this big team. Let's collaborate together to achieve this thing for the business. And if you can create a collaborative culture and you find people who want to work in that environment, will bring a collaborative set of behaviors, enjoy working in that environment. If it's a leader, that's the culture they create in their teams. Then that's a massive thing that most businesses don't get right. Because often if you look at a leader and you go, well, you've managed 15 people, you achieve these results, and you don't question it, you might find out that they just led through power. They led through title. They led through fear. And then your very worst case scenario is you've actually got a broken culture where people are conflicted, or maybe they're just cooperative, or maybe even worse, they're compliant. But collaborative culture is the culture that wins, because it does take a village to go and achieve a result. Thank you for listening and watching this Best Bits short. If you like this, tune in next Sunday for our next special part of our favorite episodes. And if you love the main podcast, every Thursday we introduce you to a new virtual mentor so you can hear their career story and answers to the biggest questions in tech. See you on the next episode.